All right, ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of the New York Power Hour here with myself, DJ Lunchbox, with a lovely new headgear, and Peter hanging out here. We're going to talk some New York sports tonight as normal. Let's get it right off the bat. Peter, Lunchbox, how you feeling tonight?
Kenny, don't make me get my Red Sox Manny jersey. I'll do it right now. Don't make me do it.
No, man, this is for Ram for last week when he wore his
Yeah,
Red
I
Sox
was saying,
gear.
there, yeah, Peter, we got to be fair. That was completely at me, right? Like, I know that you have to be caught in the crossfire here, but and lest
The
I
difference
introduce
is,
the fact that go ahead, Lunchbox.
but the difference is, I'm not going to wear this the whole time because that kind of skeeves me out. But I just
Adage
wanted
joke.
to
I mean,
intro it.
look, it makes sense too because of the fact that I've got we were talking about before. I've got the Field of Dreams White Sox jersey on. This is from when they walked it off against a certain New York team that was not the Mets. So that's what today's gear is for. Lunchbox, I gotta tell you, as soon as we went on, I thought it was almost like a video effect because you didn't have it on when we were backstage
I
beforehand.
know, I
So I
know.
thought
Yep.
you would like put on a filter of having the hat on. I was like, God, that's actually hilarious. Just have that the whole time, and just like depending on the week, like it's just gonna be a different hat on. But
I mean, I don't
yeah,
have
I
that
mean,
many. I don't have that many like extra hats laying around. I did have that Atlanta Braves hat from a Braves Phillies game that I went to, and I promised my friend Chase that I would root for the Braves on his birthday against the Phillies. And I bought a $5 Braves hat, and I went to the game and I cheered hard for the Braves every single at bat. And I basically the entire section hated me. So that was that's what happened. It was a good time.
I'll tell you something to that accord that I think is funny. I've been down to Atlanta for a few games before. First time I went down, I didn't wear any Mets gear because I honestly didn't know what I was going to be walking into, and I didn't want to start a fight intentionally. And for the most part, I've been down there a few times and I've been surprised at not only how nice that area is around the ballpark, but the fans have been pretty much what I expected in a good way. They'll mess with me, they'll make some jokes, but nobody was trying to tackle me or kick me out of the stadium, you know? So I'm glad when rivalries are that where we can sit and we can talk and not try to I'm still a little nervous when I head down to Philly if I put the Mets gear on. So we'll see how these things develop over the next few years between the Mets, Braves, and Phillies. But swinging to the New York ideas of what's going on, I feel like we're going to have to start thinking about canceling the show because the last time we did it, the Mets lost and the Yankees won. And today, the Mets lost and the Yankees won. And I don't like that this is happening all the time on the nights that we do this show. But with respect to what's going on, let's kick it off by talking about that. Let's get the Yankees out of the way in that regard and the return of Clark Schmidt. I know this is something that you wanted to talk about, Kenny. So I'm going to punt this over to you to start off.
Yeah, I wanted to see how he was going to react. His first game back. He did pitch really well for us last year. He's got late movement to his stuff, and like it. There's a lot to like there. There's also a lot of question marks, right? His 2023 was not so good. Granted, he was figuring it out, at the big league level, which is not something that happens very often for starting pitchers. But you know, uh, what I saw tonight, I was pretty happy with. He gave up 3 runs. He was missing his spots a little bit with his sinker. He left it up a little bit here and there. Knuckle curve looked good. Late break. He's had a little rough command here and there, but overall, I liked what I saw. Gave us 5 2/3, only threw 73 pitches. I thought he looked real good. Kept us in the ball game. It was tied when he left. Um, you know, we picked it up after that and um, closed the door in the ninth with an excellent catch by Cody Bellinger at the end of the game. There, it was pretty slick. So, yeah, it was a good outing for Clark. I was happy to see him back. We need him. We need him. Our rotation situation is very rocky, and I don't know how we're going to piece it together for an entire season with these guys. I really don't. But Carrasco looked okay last time out, but um, you know, so far so good for Schmidt. We'll see how he does this next time out. We have a 4-game set against Tampa coming up, and I don't think he's going to pitch in that one. He'll be in the next series though. So we'll see what's next for Clark.
Yeah, with the Yankees pitching in general, it's interesting. It's very Jekyll and Hyde. If you take a look on their Statcast, you have a lot of guys that are either just a lot of red or guys that are just a lot of blue. And it's just they're not getting. There's a few guys they're not getting really much of anything of. Marcus Stroman, Carlos Carrasco, and Devin Williams, just to name 3 that really stood out to me as underperforming. So it's especially Devin Williams. You guys got him in the offseason. Maybe Pete Alonso broke him. It's yet to be determined, but you would expect him to be a lot better than he's been. He's probably been your most disappointing player.
I don't know that I can make that. I don't know that I agree with you with that, Peter. Now I will say, like I said, last week, when we were talking about Devin Williams, like I felt a little shaky in the stomach when he was out there. He's making me nervous. And I still get that feeling when he comes out. Last 2 times out, he's nailed it down though. So, I will give him a little bit of leeway. He also had a kid, so there's a lot of things on his mind. I don't know, but I think he's going to be fine. Looked okay last couple times. Lockdown saves. He wasn't available today, so we had to use Cruz. But he went eighth and ninth. He did a 2-inning save for us today. So, but yeah, no, I'm okay with Williams. He's going to be fine. But yeah, Carrasco and Stroman, oh boy, and Rodon, oh my God, Rodon, that. He pitched on Sunday against the Giants, and that he just left a fat meatball right in the middle of the plate for Jung Ho Lee. It was, I could have hit it. It was the worst pitch I've seen all year, and hands down, not even close. You don't like that. Why in that time do you make that pitch? What are you possibly thinking? But granted, I know he didn't try. He wasn't trying to throw that, but that's what he threw. And it was a hell of a time to do it because we got slammed for it too. So
yeah, with Rodon, it's interesting because he has some good things going for him. He has a very high ground rate. His problem is he doesn't get anyone to chase on any of his pitches, and when he isn't pitching to ground ball contact, he has 5 home runs this year, which is a lot in this short time.
So Jekyll and Hyde. This is what you see. He was cruising 5 innings. He had a bunch of strikeouts. He was looking good. And then, he just a cement mixer right over the middle of the plate after walking 2 guys. And, this is what, that's what he does. Walk, dinger, and, all of a sudden, we had a 3-run lead and it's gone, that's what happens. So, and Carrasco is much worse, although last time out he did all right. But I think that was more about, I don't really think it was Kansas City helping him instead of him going after Kansas City. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, it's a tough one because, as you say, it's Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, as okay as Carrasco was the last time out, as bad as Stroman was last time out. That's the problem. Where the thing about it is that if you've got spot starters going up, if you've got guys coming up that you need them to make 1 to 2 starts because someone's on the IL, sure, but it's not a sustainable strategy for the entire season. I think that's where you seem to feel, and I happen to agree with you that yes, maybe even over the next 20 games, you can still get out looking okay, but you can't go way too long relying on many starts from Carrasco, from Stroman, because these guys are just bound to be in situations that are going to make it harder for you to win the game. right? And
Yep.
and clearly some of the offense is clicking. I mean, you saw Judge today again. Judge is on fire to start the year. He's having an
409,
outstanding.
crushing it.
Right, and that, and I'll use Judge to kind of parlay into something on the Mets side, by the way, because this came up. I'm sure Peter see it. I don't know if you saw it, Kenny, but there's a lot of discussion about Soto this week about his commentary and what he said about the pitches that he's been seeing, and he went out and he said that essentially that he's not batting behind Aaron Judge anymore, so the pitch selection is obviously going to be worse for him. And it's at this point one, and I'll pull up the stat at some point while you guys are talking, but it's been one of the worst pitch selections that he's seen so far. He's not seeing many pitches in the zone. It's usually what's accounting for the fact he's only got 2 home runs so far. But I'm not worried about Juan Soto at all. I think he's going to adjust. I think he's shown the propensity to adjust. Do you guys see any reason? Do you think we should be worried about Juan Soto at all? Peter, I'll throw it to you because you're the Mets fan with me here. I don't think you're worried. Are you?
No, not at all. I mean, granted, Juan Soto hasn't been playing like the name on the back of his jersey yet, but he's still playing fantastic. I believe he has an 800 OPS. He's drawn a lot of walks. But he's not really getting any pitches to hit. And then, I've seen it even when I went to Citi Field when they played the Blue Jays. It's really cold right now in a lot of these places, and the balls are just dying in the outfield. There's at least one, specifically in City, there was one ball that I really thought was going out, and it just died right at the warning track, and he got a double out of it, so he still got something. But I honestly, like this whole article and the whole thing, I think it's a giant nothing burger. He has Pete hitting behind him, and Pete's probably the second best hitter right now in baseball behind Aaron Judge. And it's just the New York media doing what the New York media. Sorry, I might have said that wrong. Aaron Judge and then Pete Alonso. I saw Kenny's face. I don't know if I said that wrong. But it's just the New York media doing what the New York media does, and I'm not worried about it. And I will say props to Judge for really just poo-pooing the story and just being like, I'm not worried about it. It's nothing. Nobody cares.
Ken, do you have anything to add on that for the Juan Soto stuff besides the face that you gave him when he said Pete Alonso is the second base hitter in baseball? Because I don't think
Yeah,
right now, this second, right now.
Maybe stat wise, I mean that's possible. I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers. Aaron Judge being the best hitter in baseball. I'm having a hard time. I want to put my Yankee bias away on Aaron Judge. I really do. I want to, but I can't. Like, where do I like it? He's the best hitter in baseball, guys. Like, that's what he is. Like, he's incredible. He gets up there every single day, clutch hit when you need it. 2 outs, you need a rally going. He gets a hit, another double and then a homer to go ahead tonight. Like, the guy, he's just a hitting robot. He just goes up there and hits, and he's incredible. And yeah, I don't think there's any chance that Pete Alonso could sniff his dirty diaper. Okay.
To back up my point, I will take, I believe Aranda. I think I'm pronouncing that right because he's
Aranda.
Yeah, because he only has 46 at bats. So besides that, Judge is number one and OPS, and right behind him is Pete Alonso. So,
okay, like I said, stat wise, sure, okay. I mean, a career Pete Alonso is a 260 hitter. So
okay, I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about career.
Okay, all right.
And I see that Ash isn't here with us tonight because he's prepping for some stuff going on. But I see him commented asking Judge is the best hitter in baseball, and it's kind of hard. I really don't want to give guys on the Yankees and the Braves much credit, so you don't really hear me sing the praises of Aaron Judge too often. But it's really undeniable right now what he's doing, and so the stat I was referencing before I found it. Will Salmon, in response to what was going on in the Porters, he said Juan Soto is seeing a pitch in the heart of the zone with a runner on base 16% of the time, according to Savant. Among players who have seen 100 pitches with a runner on base, Soto's percentage ranks as the lowest in the league. And so I do think part of this is it's one of those things where you're going from hitting behind Aaron Judge to hitting behind Pete Alonso, and obviously there's a change there in how pitchers are going to approach you. And it's affected Soto's ability to hit the ball directly. That being said, I do think part of what's happening with Alonso and his early success is the reverse of that, where he's now the beneficiary of hitting after Juan Soto because he's
Mm.
now receiving, and I don't have that number in front of me, and I'll have to look it up. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But from what I've seen with the eye test, he's getting a lot more pitches to hit than ever before. And so there's a trade off here where it seems like to me the Mets are pretty content with this outcome because, as Peter pointed out, Soto's still got an OPS over 800. If he's still able to give you above average production, and Pete Alonso's going to have a career year because of it, there might be something to this, and that's okay because Aaron Judges just don't grow on trees. You're not going to find another guy that you can just slot in so easily. Juan Soto doesn't grow on trees either. It's a situation where I think that the fact that we're less than 20 games in and that they're having full on discussions about, oh, he's this $1 million man. Is he going to be a waste of money? It's driving me nuts because it just comes down to that same clickbait New York media stuff we've been hearing for years about both of our teams, right? Because we hear it, the doom and gloom on both of our teams. It's real easy and real fun. We talked about this, Kenny, just even about the torpedo bats, right? We had a 2 to 3 day news cycle where there were some people trying to make it seem like the Yankees were doing something illicit, right? And then when everyone realized that players on other teams used it, what happened? Well, we stopped hearing about it. It's nothing special anymore, right? But they were turning around because the Yankees had that big outburst against Nestor. Oh, they're cheating with the torpedo bats, and we know on the Mets side that it gets a little tiring for me. Besides of our own in jokes, that these I can understand sometimes why guys don't want to come to the spotlight in New York because where else are you going to be putting up an OPS over 800? You're still walking, you're still doing things, and they're like, "Hey, Juan Soto might be garbage." I can't stand Frank the Tank, and he's already throwing out one of his classic nicknames, Juan So instead of Juan Soto, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, man, what are we? We can't be doing this, but I'm not worried about Soto. If there's anybody out there who's got him in a dynasty league and you're tired of him, find me and I'll trade for him. I'm not worried. I got no fear about a couple games in here like this. And conversely, also, if you've got Pete Alonso, I will more than happily take him off your hands as well. Um, but in terms of hitting approaches, I'm going to swing it back to the Yankees for a bit now too, because this is something that Kenny brought up. But you had mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about Volpe's approach to the plate, and I wanted to hear what you had to say about Anthony and what's going on. What are your thoughts here, and what's going through your head?
All right. So my thing with Anthony Volpe is this. I understand that field porch is really tempting. I get it. It is. It's just right there. And you can lift a fly ball and you can get it there. Okay, but they don't have them in Pittsburgh. They don't have that short right field. Anywhere else. Anywhere. And he seems to me that when he's in his on the road, his approach is exactly the same as it is at home. He's trying to hit 30 homers. He's trying to, be a power hitter. And I saw the same thing happen to Gleyber Torres when he came through the system too. He immediately wanted to be that next power guy. Like he hit 2019 Happy Fun Ball. I think he had 38 home runs. Gleyber did that year. I mean, but what happened to Gleyber after? We saw him basically kind of fizzle out as a superstar player. He wasn't really up to that billing in any way. Defensively, we had to move him to second base because he couldn't handle the position with his arm. It didn't really ever click for Gleyber Torres. And I don't want to see that happen for Anthony Volpe, okay? Because Anthony Volpe is a really good hitter. He's got a really tight, compact swing. when he's sticking to his mechanics. I want Anthony Volpe to stop trying to hit right field home runs. I don't care if we're at home or not, okay? But especially on the road, okay? I want you to just I want you to play situational baseball when you're at the plate. You know, like tonight. I mean, now granted, we're at home tonight. Bases were loaded. I understand 2 outs. He's up. You know, um, we're in a situation where we're down. He wants to hit that home run, the grand slam, and put us up, and celebrate. And he's swung out of his shoes 3 different times in that at bat. You know, um, and I have the same complaint about Jazz too. Like, with runners in scoring position, they walk Aaron Judge intentionally to get to Jazz. Bases loaded again. He's swinging at the first pitch and he flies to left. Like, work the at bat. Play the situation, and I want to see that from Volpe. I know he's a young hitter, but and I'm not saying that this is his peak. Like, I'm not saying that this is what I expect him to be, but he is a Derek Jeter type of player. Okay, he doesn't have the big time power like Jeter didn't have the power. Like, he was a 20 homer guy in his best seasons, 12 homers a couple of seasons. He wasn't really that power guy, but he hit 300 because he wasn't worried about hitting the ball out. He was going up there and being Mr. Clutch and doing the situational game. And I need Anthony Volpe to do that. And I definitely think that he can be that kind of player that the Yankees need at the top of the order. And that's where I'd really like to see him. So I'm imploring you, Anthony Volpe, please stop trying to hit home runs. Just be a good hitter.
Well, when you mentioned you wanted to talk about what's going on with him, I took a look at his StatCast page, and really the only thing that stood out as a major negative with him is he has slow bat speed. He has a good barrel rate, so whenever he's making contact, it's he's getting it at the heart of the bat. He's not chasing many pitches. But his biggest issue, and it's pretty substantial. I think it was like 38% was his bat speed. So
yeah, and he's not going to be a high bat speed guy, and that's okay. Like, I mean, I don't need him to be Derek Jeter. I don't need him to hit 300 every season. Okay, like, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I want you to take that approach. I want you to go up there and hit that ball the other way when you need to move the runners when you need to when the bases are loaded, just don't strike out. Like, those are very critical things, and yeah, his bat speed isn't great. And, and that's also part of why, his power is an illusion. Okay. He's hitting home runs. They're to right field. They're wall scrapers. They're not home runs in other ballparks. And he can take advantage of that short porch. I'm not saying don't ever do it, but there's times, and when we're down in a game, and there's a better chance that you're going to strike out than you're going to actually hit that home run. So, just play the situation. That's all I'm saying.
Volpe is an interesting one because if you look at last year, his stats, we pull up his Savant, a lot of blue on his Savant page, a lot of stuff was just looking not so pleasant. But if you look at the raw stats in terms of the splits last year, he hit the same amount of home runs at home that he did on the road, 6 in each place. Is actually batted 252 on the road. So, and that shocked me in terms of looking at his breakdown. I did a little deep dive into some of his stuff. And this year, I feel like although his Savant page looks a lot cleaner, there has been a positive effect in terms of the way he's been hitting at Yankee Stadium. His homers have been split, 2 to right field, 2 to left field. But he's hit all 4 of his home runs at I'm sorry, I think let me double check before I say something wrong here about this because I think it's 4 home runs he's hit, and I think he's all hit them at Yankee Stadium this year.
Yep.
And
They've all been at Yankee Stadium.
yes,
You're right.
he's hit them all at
Mhm.
Yankee Stadium, none on the road. But on the road, he's batting 261. At home, he's batting 195. Slugging percentage at home is 512. Still an early season. And it's definitely one of those things where he also is a very young player. This is a guy who is under 25, if I remember correctly. I think he's 23. Kenny, you can correct
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong.
Nope,
But
you're right.
the plan is that he's going to be there for a long, long time. I think that I will say I think the Jeter stuff and the idea of putting that anything close to that on him might be a little bit lofty though, because
Again,
I get
I'm
it. I
not.
get that you want to do it, right? Because it makes sense. You're
Hey,
Yankees fan, you want to do it, and
Peter Cheater, yes, please.
well, I think I might be having technical difficulties by the way, because I don't know if you're muted or I can't hear you anymore. So I might have to refresh real
Oh
quick.
no! You
Uh-oh.
can't hear me? Nothing.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, let me do a
Kenny, can
refresh
you hear
because I
me?
can't hear you guys.
All
Give
right,
me
I'm
one
gonna
second. I'll be
switch.
in and out.
Kenny, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can
All
you hear
right.
me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
All right.
Well, then I'm
Well,
not gonna switch.
no, I think it's just him. So yeah, I mean, listen, Volpe is hopefully for you guys going to be a mainstay in your lineup for years to come. Um,
And
I'm not worried about him. I think he'll figure it out. He's a good ball player.
oh,
You know,
no, look again. Look, he's been good. It's not that I'm saying that he's not good or that I expect him to be Derek Jeter because that's not at all what I'm saying. But he's that type of player. Okay, like Derek Jeter was a type, right? Like he's that type. Okay, not real heavy power guy, decent glove, decent range, like
the
there's
numbers won't back that up.
whatever, Peter. Okay,
That's a
enough
good
with your
glove, but he didn't have range. I'm sorry.
no. Okay,
The
whatever.
jump, the jump throw would have been a normal first, a normal throw to first for any other competent shortstop. But that's fine.
Enough with the Jeter hate. Okay, all I'm saying is I don't expect Volpe to be Derek Jeter. He's not. He's not going to be Derek Jeter. I'm not saying that, but he's that
No, he
type
more
of
range.
player.
He's definitely got more range than Derek Jeter. Yeah, Savant supports that he's got more range. I agree. But
I hope so.
no,
That's
so all right. But now, so all jokes aside, to kind of like end the Volpe conversation, but what is your year-to-year expectation for him, Kenny? Like, what's a stat line for Volpe that you're like, okay, this is what or is it more of a, because the way you were talking is not so much the tangible physical stats, but his approach to the game. Are you more concerned with
yeah. No,
him
look.
approaching the game a certain way? Is that what you're saying? Because I respect that. I just
Yeah,
want to clarify.
yeah. No, it's look. He's hitting the ball. Okay, and I can't knock that. He's hitting the ball in clutch situations. I'll cheer when he hits a home run. I mean, absolutely. But what I notice is his misses. When he misses the ball, he is trying to loft it. To right, like you just see he's trying to hit that ball out of the park. Like it's it's not so much something that you can put a number on. Okay, it's an approach, like I said, and I would encourage him to try to go back and maybe look at some Jeter tape, at the plate and see if maybe you can make some tweaks. That's all I'm saying.
I think that's a tough thing to put on any young shortstop at a Yankees organization. Just imagine that conversation, Kenny. You bring in Anthony and sit down. Hey, so ignore who's on the tape and the number on the jersey. We want you to be a little more like this guy. We just
Yep.
want you to. Yeah, I want you to be a little more like this guy. And he's sitting here like, who do you think I've been trying to be my entire life? It's one of those things where any shortstop who puts on the pinstripes has got to be thinking about it, Like they're hoping for their moment to make the jump throw, so the New York media will sit there and say Jeter-esque, even it's a routine play, as Peter says. But they're waiting for it, they're hoping for it. So I don't know how to approach that conversation, but I guess it's lucky that we're not the coaches in the matter. I'll say that.
Hey, my byline is there for a reason. Okay, so.
Well, of young infielders hitting out of New York, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to give it to Peter for a second because he's requested a moment to talk
I
about
did
Brett
not.
Beatty,
I did not.
and
That's fine.
I will show the messages. So I'll give you a moment to talk about Brett Beatty because I don't want to, and so I'd like to hear you talk about Brett Beatty.
I mean, it's not even a moment. It's and further clarification, the last message was we really don't have to talk about Brett Beatty, but fine. He's in this last 4 games that he's played. His last 3 games that he's played, he's had 4 hits. I mean, and he's played good defense. He made a nice diving play in foul territory today. Listen, I'm looking for anything out of Brett. The bottom of the Mets lineup and outside of Pete and Lindor, kind of the lineup in general, needs a little bit of juice. So, in a perfect world where everything's going great, Brett Beatty's your starting third baseman, and Lindor's your starting DH. And Vientos is your starting DH. So, I want to see him. Brett, I'm rooting for you. Rams not, but I am. Do it for me.
I'm rooting for him in the sense that I'd like to see him do it for another team. I don't. I think Beatty's.
But it's going to happen.
I don't have.
He's going to go to another team. He's going to go to the Twins, and he's going to play his ass off. He's going to be great.
All right, so and I'll throw this to both of you then here now too, because this is a good question. If a guy, do you believe in the idea of a change of scenery? Because I do firmly believe that a change is, and I don't think if a player leaves a team and goes to another team, that it necessarily means that the other team did something wrong. There are some teams that are better in development than others. I don't think if Beatty goes to another team and succeeds that it's a failure on the Mets. I just think maybe some guys can't cut it here in New York, man.
I mean, do you say that as a Mets fan to stop yourself from crying for all the players that have left here and been really good, or just in general? Like a general belief
I also
system?
say it because of all the players that have come here and sucked when they were supposed to not suck, and
who?
Yeah, I mean, Jason Bay is still giving some people nightmares.
Well,
right?
Jason Bay's a little bit more of the. Sorry. When I think of players when I think of players that were here and didn't live up to snuff and then left and were really good, Justin Turner's the first one to come to mind for me. A lot of people, I feel like, forget that he was a Met for a while, and they just.
I remember he was terrible too.
Yeah, and then he went to the Dodgers and look at him.
Yeah, he goes to the Dodgers, and all of a sudden he's, I'm good again. Yay!
No, but it's look, there are players. I think it works both ways. We've seen a lot of players come here who were supposed to be good, and we've been disappointed with them. And Kenny, I'm sure you can speak to that on the Yankees too, because the Yankees, for the long time of me growing up, were willing to throw money at anybody, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they were going to perform. I mean, you guys got that. We talk about Jason Bay. You guys talk about Jacoby Ellsbury, right? I know that there was a whole bunch of, I know,
the name,
and it's not
just saying the name.
Yeah, it's not me. It's not me taking digs at you. I see Ash in the comments says, look, it relates to the mental side of the game. Sometimes a player needs a mental reset. We were alluding to it before, but I'm talking about the New York media, but it's not really fun to play here all the time. In the sense that if you do well, we will treat you as if you never have to buy another beer in your life. We'll treat you like you're the second coming of a religious figure. It's the truth of the matter. But
isn't that right,
if you suck here, yeah, I mean, there's potential. There are people who are religiously affiliated with Grimace as we speak now after last year, and so it's one of those things where, as you see, it's on his hat. So there's obviously and there's a lot of meme lore in this stuff. We like to have fun, obviously on the Mets side because it's just a lot more jovial at times. I feel like the expectations have changed now because we were willing to be a bit of a fun meme team for a bit, but they memed themselves into the playoffs last year, and so now there's actual expectations that they had to follow through. But I firmly believe change of scenery is a thing, and it works both ways. There are some people who are going to come here in New York and they're going to struggle, and there are others that just can't do it here. But the second you send them out to Oakland or Miami, and well, Oakland doesn't even have a team anymore, I guess. But as you said, Minnesota, Peter, these guys can actually produce, and sometimes that's okay, right? I think Beatty might be one of those guys. He has the potential to do something. Strikes me as a bit of a quad A guy. And I feel bad saying that, but I'm hoping that it never gets to his ears. I don't want to personally insult Brett Beatty, but he strikes me as a bit of a quad A guy, and I don't see too much up from there. I'm glad he's making a few plays, but I said it after spring training. I'm hoping that they use it to move him. That infield is going to be crowded anyway. So but that's enough on Brett Beatty. What I will bring up from
Now,
the Mets
hold
today
on,
that was
hold on,
interesting.
hold on. Before
Ah,
you cut out on Brett Beatty, I got two numbers for you. Okay, just two.
I'll
First
listen.
one, the first one is 41.7. That is Brett Beatty's current strikeout percentage. So, the second number I'm going to give you about Brett Beatty is 210, and that is his ex woba. So, yeah, that's enough said right
That's
there. Like,
that for me. That's quad A, and I don't think it makes me a bad person to say that. Yeah, and I know he made a good play today, Peter. I'm not going to take that away from you. You did make a nice play, but I'm I'm going to need a little more than that to want to have an actual conversation about Brett Beatty being a
Hey,
contributor to this
it's a
team.
start. You got to start somewhere. Listen, he was the biggest thing with Brett this year is he was the king of 0-2 starts, and he's slowly improved that, and we're starting to see a small little bit of result. So I'm just hoping that continues. Will it? Probably not. This is me probably just dreaming that I want Brett Beatty to be good. It's probably not going to happen with the Mets, but we're seeing small little increases. Maybe by the end of the year he'll be a good player. That's the hope.
Well, there's
Cardinals.
some reason for there's reason for hope in other ways. Like today, there's something that I will bring up is that the next man up for the Mets today, because Griffin Canning was out with injury because he was sick, was Justin Hageman making his debut for the Mets there, and he looked pretty strong. And the Mets have actually started to make me cautiously optimistic about what they've been able to do with pitchers. If we've talked about this before, Kranick and Garrett have looked really strong. Jose Butos looked good out of the pen too. For the most part, the Mets pen has been elite. And they're starting pitching with Clay Holmes, for some reason, is now striking out people at a very high rate that makes no sense to me. And every time we talk about him, it makes me look stupid because I had no idea that Clay Holmes could actually start and give you 5 productive innings, but he's
Can,
continuing to do it.
can I throw out a stat real quick?
Yes.
Uh, Clay Holmes has more strikeouts than Shane Baz, and for anyone that's in our Discord, that means a lot. He has more strikeouts than Shane Baz.
I will say there were times where Clay Holmes was really, really good as a Yankee. I'm not going to lie. Like, he was really good in the bullpen for us for several years. That last year, though, that was
Yeah, but how
And
many,
that,
Kenny? How many of those were just bad infield defense on your part? Like, granted, not all of them. I'm not totally like just saying absolving him of his issues in New York, but he had a lot of ground balls, and the Yankees' infield defense last year was not good.
Hey, I all the best to him. I hope he strikes out, 25 every single time he goes out. That's what I hope. I hope he kills it, wins the Cy Young, and the Mets win the World Series. And Clay Holmes is the guy, the MVP, the Cy Young, and
I was not going to do it before ERA, but
you're
Chris, does he have more home runs than Jordan? I'll tell you who doesn't have more home runs than Jordan, and that's easily Brett Beatty. But I will say, I love the trend of the idea of the Mets taking guys from the Yankees and turning them into more effective pitchers, or at least finding their form. Because we got Severino, and they were able to make Severino. And it's not like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm making something out of nothing. Where Severino was definitely a good pitcher for the Yankees, he just went astray towards the end of it after injury. Mets were able to find his form again. Clay Holmes, I think it's sort of a similar thing. He gave the Yankees quite a few good years, and now the shock for me is just reliever to starter is hard. Starter to
Yeah.
reliever is hard too, but it's easier than reliever to starter. And he's looked sharp these third, and we're going to see a little more as we get him deeper into the season. But early on, it's making me look pretty stupid, and I don't like it. So
Trust
moving
in the
on.
pitching lab. Never doubt Dave Stearns again, guys. He's immaculate.
But that's the thing, that Stearns mentality is now very present with this Mets organization. Next man up. We used to see the Brewers do this for years, where a guy would come up for a spot start and we'll say, "Who the hell is that?" And suddenly he's throwing 5 shutout innings. And we got quite a few from Hagenman today, so I'm going to give them credit for being able to operate like the small market Brewers with the budget of the Mets. On paper sounds like it could be a real demon for teams to deal with. So far, it's not exactly the juggernaut that we're kind of hoping it would be, but we'll see where this goes. But next man up works. I'm going to punt next man up over to Kenny, actually, because a couple things we want to knock out before we finish out. And I want to give him a moment to talk about the Devils, and
All right.
they're going to have to be doing some next man up work going into the
Uh,
playoffs here. So I'm going to leave this one for you here. Talk to me about the Devils going into the playoffs and what your feelings are.
my feelings are not good. That's my feelings. Look, this team has constantly let me down over the years. I will say, um, you know, maybe not as many years as, say, the Rangers or someone like that, but um, there definitely several years of pain for the Devils here recently. Um, I Markstrom has been better than what we have had in the goal in the past, and I feel like he might be good enough to maybe get us to the next round. But without Jack Hughes, and I'm pretty sure Dougie Hamilton's missing the entire first series, I don't really give us much chance. So as a Devils fan of many years, I'd say casual hockey fan for most of that. Um, uh, you know, I will say I hope I am wrong, but I foresee a first round exit for New Jersey this year.
Peter, do you have anything to add on the hockey front, or should I skip forward? Because I've never actually asked if hockey's your. I know you've got other sports up your pants,
I'm
but
I'm a Rangers fan. It's definitely more casual than not these days. But what a disappointing and terrible season. But we don't need to bring down the show. It's fine.
well, on the positive end of the New York area sports, the Knicks are also in the playoffs, and they've got their first round coming up in a couple days against the Detroit Pistons. I did not want the Pistons. The 16 Pistons were not the team that I was hoping to face in the playoffs. They've got youth, they've got momentum, and they beat the Knicks a couple times this season too. Cade Cunningham is playing lights out. Now it's going to come down to whether the Knicks and their playoff experience as a core, not necessarily with each other because they've still been adjusting to the new acquisition of Cat this year, but does this core have enough experience in the playoffs to be able to shut down the young guns and hold off the new guard? I think the Knicks should be fine in this series. That being said, it's going to hurt me to watch because there are going to be moments where this young team is going to build confidence against the Knicks. My overall take is that you need to go out early and set the tone of this series. You need to go out there and win strong early. You cannot allow a young team like the Pistons to build confidence against you. Everyone looks at them as the underdog, and they are the underdog on paper, but in the playoffs, anything can happen. Do not allow this team to build confidence against you. Do not allow them to take game one. I look at it, as crazy as it sounds, as game one is a must win because you need to set this standard for the series. And that's how you're going to win the series. You show them how you can play ball. Game one is coming up, I believe, on Saturday night, and it's in New York. You cannot let, and Detroit and the Knicks have a history. That the Pistons as a franchise have a history. Don't let this get ugly. Get out there in front of your home fans. Take game one, set the tone. We have the better roster. We should be able to win this series. The most looked at line for people is a 4-2 Knicks win, 4 Knicks, 2 Pistons wins. I think that's pretty viable. I don't think this is a team. The Pistons have a lot of heart. I don't think they're going to get swept. And I'm not talking about sweeps. I'm not getting overconfident. I've watched the Knicks for enough. You know, Chris Cardona says, "Who cares? Saturday is Jey Uso's crowning Mania moment." WrestleMania is obviously on Saturday too, so that's going to be a tough one for me because I'm going to have to split screen the Knicks and watching the first night of WrestleMania. But yeah, I think that's the message. You sit there in the back of your squad and you tell them like, "Hey, don't let this happen. Don't let them come to our home squad, our home court, and take a win. You need to set the tone early." Uh, and to Chris's point, not a lot of people are excited about Jey Uso's potential crowning Mania moment as well, but that's for another podcast. Do either of you guys have anything to add about the Knicks?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that they're, going into a playoffs relatively healthy. Last year, they were just decimated with injuries. And by the time they played the Pacers, there was like nobody left. You had Josh Hart as your starting center. So I've been a Knicks fan for a long time. I've, this past couple of years, I've been a little more casual, but when I was really into it, I still had Isaiah Thomas as our coach. So I feel like I've seen a lot of bad Knicks basketball, so I'm allowed to be, a little bit wishy-washy with it because I've been there. I've been there when David Lee and Nate Robinson were our two best players. Like I've seen some things.
I'll say, I think that the Knicks can win if they get the ball underneath Patrick Ewing, and just make sure that they roll that underneath and don't let Thomas beat him over the top. That's what I'm saying.
Cool.
And
Thanks,
and also don't travel. Okay, great.
Well, it's the NBA anyway.
That's
Everyone can
great advice.
travel.
That's great advice. I think it works out well. I see Ash commenting and yeeting in the comment section, so I'm gonna move us on to something a little different to finish out the evening, and that's gonna be for Peter and Kenny specifically because they've both been itching to talk about this, and I have to let them do it. So we found out in the last 48 hours two things: that Team USA is going to be captained by none other than the Yankees' Aaron Judge. And we've also found out late in the evening today that Team Puerto Rico will be captained by the Mets starting shortstop, Francisco Lindor. So there's a couple things at play here to discuss, but I know that before the Lindor thing, I'm obviously happy about that. Uh, Ash is over there saying all rise for Team USA. Chris is in the comment section. I know that he is a big fan of Team Puerto Rico, so I know that he's pretty happy about the Lindor captainship. And of course, I'm just happy to see my team represented. But Peter was taking some thoughts about this Aaron Judge thing because former Met legend David Wright was once captain of Team USA and Captain America back then. So with the two of them
Well,
having a lot of thoughts on this, I'm going to leave the floor to them to cap off our evening.
my issue, just to clarify, isn't that Aaron Judge is the captain of Team USA. That's fine. I don't care. Literally no thoughts on that. My issue is with the MLB admin on Twitter or X, the Everything app, whatever the hell you want to call it. There have been other captains since David Wright. It's not like David Wright stopped playing baseball and they're like, we're not having another captain anymore. Mike Trout comes to mind. Nobody's ever called them Captain America. There is one Captain America. These other, just no. There's only one Captain America. It's David Wright. People who aren't even Mets fans call David Wright Captain America. It's a genuine thing. And I have a lot of different issues with the MLB admin, mainly Dodgers related. But no, there's one Captain America. The original is the best. Just stop it. Stop it.
So there are, in fact, multiple Captain Americas. I believe that there was one played by Chris Evans, right? Um,
David Wright was
I,
first.
there was another one after that played by some other guy who was not nearly as good as Chris Evans. Um, David Wright was, obviously Captain America as well. But but Aaron Judge is the best Captain America because he is the current Captain America. And so therefore, I'm sorry, David Wright. No, no. You used to be Captain America. Now you're walking around on crutches. So,
Okay, he doesn't need crutches to walk. How dare you, sir? Okay, and it's funny you bring in the Marvel point of it because yes, there was Steve Rogers, and then they brought in another guy to be Captain America. I don't remember his name. I stopped watching after Endgame. Please don't yell at me. So,
same.
but everybody agrees universally that the first Captain America, Steve Rogers, was the best Captain America. So just like in this situation, David Wright is the first and best Captain America.
Yeah. I think that it's okay. You've got these Mets colored glasses on.
No, I'm colorblind. That's not an issue.
Just see everything through Mets lens. That's what you see.
I'm colorblind. That's not an issue.
God forbid that somebody else be called Captain America other than David Wright. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. Oh.
Kenny,
So
what happens when, say a Met in, a distant future where everything is great and happy, win a World Series and somebody has a great October. If you're telling me that Yankee fans are going to be furious if, that guy, that they call him Mr. October, no, they're all going to lose their mind because Mr. October.
I mean,
is the Yankee.
Look, what I don't really care about Mr. October like that. I mean, it's fine. It's a fun name. I was not alive when Reggie Jackson hit 3 home runs in the World Series. I was negative 4 years old. So, I mean, that's fine. Mr. November, though, that's a little different. So that is Mr. El Capitan himself. So
our resident Red Sox fan Christian chiming in twice, saying the Judge will find a way to not play the World Baseball Classic for some BS injury, and then follows up by saying Yankees in October doesn't exist anymore. So
yeah, they weren't just in the World Series.
I don't think Captain Puerto Rico has the same ring as Captain America. I'm sorry, it just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way, Chris. My bad.
Well, I do have to be clear with you, though, about the fact that when World Baseball Classic time comes around, you will not find me rooting for Team USA. So it does make it a little easier for me to see that a guy that I don't necessarily want to root for is captaining the team. It was a little bit harder back in the day when David Wright was there, where I can't root against David Wright, but Lindor being put on a rival team is a little helpful for me to pick a rooting and vested interest, especially if Diaz considers playing again. But I want to get that bad taste out of my mouth about that Diaz injury a couple of years ago at the World Baseball Classic. And but putting that aside, I am going to kind of wrap it up here on this, just talking about it. Are you guys World Baseball Classic fans? Because I'm a huge fan of the idea.
I love it.
Good. So I do think that because we had a lot of negative opinion about it the first time around, that people were saying the games don't matter the same way, that it shouldn't be put in the time frame that it did. Of course, some players got injured like Diaz, and some people were very unhappy about that. I love the World Baseball Classic. I love that MLB is giving it the attention that it is. As Peter says, the admin's going crazy about it and what's going on with Judge. So I like that it's going to get this type of love and more exposure. And I am hopeful that, as Chris has, by the way, sent us a photo about Captain America is actually Captain Puerto Rico. I appreciate that. But
it's with everything being said about my rant about Dave Ray's Captain America, when it comes to the World Baseball Classic, I actually root for my father's homeland of Italy. So that's cool.
See, you don't even root for the team. So, like,
No, but I
what do
can't
you
listen. I'm allowed to like individual players. That's fine. And I'm allowed to respect as a Mets fan. I'm allowed to respect David Wright in the same way that
Okay.
as a Mets fan, the Mets need to lock Edwin Diaz in a room and not let him pitch during the World Baseball
Yeah.
Classic.
The
Like,
only thing about the World Baseball, the
I just wanted
only
to
thing
provide
about
that. Just
the,
wanted to provide that for the crowd. Thank you, Chris, for just
that's excellent work. That's top notch stuff right there, Chris. Um, the only thing about the World Baseball Classic that bothered me the very first time was how it affected the starting pitching in fantasy coming into that first season. Where the starting pitchers were really just out of their rhythm. Like it was just a mess that first season for fantasy. So that, I mean, as a fantasy guy, that's kind of where I had a little bit of a problem with it. But the WBC itself is super fun and super entertaining. And I love it. And I hope we get more of it.
yes. I mean that's exactly how I feel about it. I'm really excited for the WBC. Now we're wrapping up the hour here, so I'm gonna send it back to you guys each. If you have any final thoughts, Peter, anything that you want to add before we wrap up the New York Power Hour tonight on Best Damn Sports?
um, you know, uh, commentator curse is real, and I guess as granted, it's just we're just starting out, and they were a little bit small, but one of the things that I wrote in my notes as I was preparing for the game, listening to the Mets game today, is the Mets are the only team in baseball to not lose back-to-back games in this young season. And then the Mets proceeded to lose back-to-back games as I was taking my notes for this game. So,
That's good times.
yeah,
Good
I
timing.
I feel like me myself personally caused the Mets to lose, and I do apologize.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Kenny, anything to add as final thoughts?
Yeah, Ram, I just wanted to one more time just
I'll get it. I'll get it right now. Don't make me.
no, it's been a lot of fun. Go Yankees. I hope that we can figure out the rotation and get that stuff figured out. But looking forward to another week of baseball coming up here, and we got playoff hockey starting soon, so it's going to be exciting. Except not in New York though. That's a little unfortunate.
What are you doing? This is the New York show. Why?
I'm a Devils fan. I'm sorry. What do you want from me?
Go back to New Jersey, you bum.
You live in New Jersey.
I mean,
All right, good.
I'm the only one that's allowed to criticize New Jersey. Keep it out of your mouth.
I'm sorry. I will behave myself.
I'm a casual hockey fan, but I support the Leafs and Austin Matthews as my little bottom title is there. So that's going to be a fun one come time hockey. But look, I'm just gonna finish out by saying that if the next week, if the Mets lose and the Yankees win again before our New York Hour show, whether it be next week or in 2 weeks, if that happens again, I'm giving firm idea to cancel the show. And that's about that. So, because at that point, I'm blaming me and Peter for us losing, and we need to bow out for the sake of our
Just
superstitious
schedule
black
it.
cat fueled Mets.
Let's just schedule the next one whenever Rodon's pitching, because you know that we're not going to win that day. So
yeah, we'll figure out if Rodon's going to throw a perfect game. It'll happen on that day, I'm sure, to spite me. Anyway, anyone who's out there listening, and of course to Ash, who's been helping us out behind the scenes, thank you all for being around for the New York Power Hour. We're all happy to be here. We will see you soon. Take care and have a good night.